Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, whatever you're celebrating, excited about. This is the Chosen Life podcast. Jonathan A. Hacohen, your host, author, Bible 3.0, and real estate corporate lawyer at Kormans LP, with our good friend and brother, the king of real estate, king of motivation. He teaches you how to make money and guides you from beginning to end. He's the one and only George Tremis. George, so excited to have you back, man.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Happy to be here. Don't forget sales, too.
Oh, of course.
Sales training and speaking on sales.
To me, sales is money, man. You know how to sell, you're going to make money at the end of the day.
You'll never starve. If you can sell, add value, help people buy solutions, I love the profession.
Chicken and egg. You know, I looked at my son the other day, Jeremiah. You've met him before, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a good friend of the show as well. Direct Nissan. You need a car, contact Jeremiah at Direct. He's killing it on social media. He's always he's got those great ads up there. And I told him, you know, you've been selling, and you know, over the past, let's say 5-6 months, you've been a top sales guy for the last 3-4 months.
Fantastic.
And I told him, when you were 6 years old, I knew something about you. I knew that you had the street smarts. I knew that if somebody drops you on the middle of a desert island somewhere, you're going to find your way home. And it's amazing how those skills in life, you're born with them, how you cultivate them. Mm-hmm. And now watching him, people think he's older beyond his years. Not just he looks older, but in the maturity level. Mm-hmm. But part of the reason is, we talked about it from last week, when I had client appointments and he was a young boy, 5-6 years old, I took him to everywhere with me, to all my business lunches, dinners, client meetings, and he just sat there and watched. And what do you think he learned? He learned how to talk, he learned how to sell, he learned how to close.
Absolutely. That was a great exposure for him. Well done.
I always tell parents, look, you see a kid at 18, 19 years old, you can see the ones that were sheltered, that weren't allowed to, were scared of their own shadow, couldn't leave their street. And you see the ones where the parents took them downtown, took them on vacation, and gave them real exposure to what life was, and didn't just make it all sugar, roses, and butterflies and candy, Yeah. Life is hard, and things happen. And I'm a big advocate. You take your children and you teach them that life has its ups and downs and how that works. They're going to be better for it at the end of the day.
100%. I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone, and he says he teaches his girls to talk to strangers, unlike this typical, don't talk to strangers that parents say, because he says strangers have everything you want in life. So you have to learn to talk to strangers, and then they become non-strangers going forward, for lack of better words. Right? Obviously, you have to be cautious, teach them to be careful. But to your point, you have to be exposed to communication, interacting with other people, because people with other people make things happen.
I love that Grant Cardone post a few weeks back where he said, for all those people that aren't happy with the U.S. election and, threatened to move to Canada, I'm sending the plane for you right now.
I love that one.
He had some choice words for it, but the point was made. We talked last week about the number one, number two person, the person who's organized, scheduled, and the person that, I just want to live my life and fly by the seat of my pants. There are people, I'm going to go to a new number one, number two today.
Okay.
Number one is the person, I look in the mirror. I take accountability for myself. When things go well, I'll give myself that credit, by all means, and the pat on the back. When things go wrong, I don't look for other people to blame. The buck stops with me. And even if something happens wrong in my staff or my coworker, if ultimately it's my decision, I have to take the responsibility for it. That's person number one. Person number two, rather sit in the corner on the sidelines, I don't want to make a mistake. And you know what? It's everybody else's fault. It's the system's fault. It's not mine. And it's my parents' fault. And, I did the best I could. And, oh, well, too bad. I'm going to give up.
Not for me.
Nope.
I don't know why anybody would want to live like that, because you have no control then. If nothing is your fault or because of your doing, that means you have zero impact on your own life. Who wants to live like that?
And this is where I've told people, to the number twos of the world, the ones that want to blame everybody else and, don't feel that they should take responsibility. I tell them, pick up the book, pick up the Bible 3.0.
Yeah.
And the thing is, those people that have read it and started reading it, well, I'm not looking to read a memoir about you and I don't really care about your life. I said,
That's not what it is.
no problem. But if you stop having preconceived notions and start consuming the book, what inevitably will happen is as you're reading my story and me being vulnerable to you, I want you to self-reflect within. Think about your life. Think about what I've done in those stages. Think about what you did. Because I think part of the issue, George, why some people don't grow and blame society for everything and don't want change is because they're scared to look within because they have to take responsibility for themselves. And that's a hard thing. So they put up this wall and it's just everybody else's fault at the end of the day. And they never looked within. So part of the book, what I challenge people is stop thinking of who's to blame and what went wrong. Start looking within of who you are, what's your consistency, and how can we take our best energy and further ourselves.
Absolutely. But I think you hit it on the head. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do to look in the mirror, right? And be like truly naked emotionally, with yourself and admit your shortcomings. But you have to do that before you can fix them. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge. And there's one other thing that you made me think of, and I got to reiterate it again. I think I get red because you make my brain just go into overdrive. But my father, when I was growing up, taught me a lot of things I have to credit him for, and I was fortunate for that. Yeah. And he had an expression, don't confuse me with the facts. Not for himself, but that people live by that. And I think that's the problem. It's like whether they say it's a memoir about you, whatever have you, you can tell them, some people, unfortunately, all day long, it's not that, please just read the first 2 chapters. It'll change your life. I want to help. And they'll be like, no, Jonathan, don't confuse me with the facts. I know what I know. And I'll never know anything else because I know everything.
I tell people all the time when you're reading the book, when you think about life, when you think about your job, when you think about tasks, when you think about world leaders, you think about elections, don't get so caught up on labels. We get so caught up, this label, I don't like this label, I don't like what they call it, I don't like how they describe it. Let's get past these things and let's think about bigger pictures at the end of the day. I tell people at the end of the day, you're going to eat well. You can call it nutrition, eating well, whatever you want to label it as. Don't think of it as the boogie person, a boogie man, boogie woman that's, very evil. And, I don't want to be a health conscious, whatever. I want to be a vegan, vegetarian. Like, let's get past this stuff and let's look at the bigger picture. We want to be healthy. We want to feel good, look good, and we're going to consume this food in this order, in this quantities. This is going to get us to a good place. So don't get so fixated on a label and say, boom, I'm not a gym rat. I'm not a meathead. This is not for me. No, everything is for everybody if you open yourself to it.
Absolutely.
Everything is for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And but can I bring up our conversation when we first came together at the studio a few weeks back? And what did we talk about? We talked about boxing,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, when I see you smile like that and that little sparkle in your eyes, I know you're going to bring up something interesting. So go for it.
Well, we talked about boxing. You having boxed, me having boxed. You, to me, being the natural guy, the guy that naturally put on a pair of gloves and could take right to it, this is in your mold versus me, somebody that's not built for it whatsoever, horrific at it. I worked hard, you work hard. I've gone away, put more time now into gym and yoga. You want to come back into the mold. And the first thing I told you is, which trainer are you working with? Right?
Yes, you did.
And us having that debate, do we have a trainer and then go to start furthering ourselves and practicing? Or should we practice on our own, teach ourselves, and then come to a trainer when we're ready? And my argument was, Tiger Woods, Roger Federer, every top athlete, they all got coaches at the end of the day. To me, Tiger Woods getting to the NBA, he didn't do it by teaching himself basketball. At some point, obviously you play around as a kid and everything else, but you think about grade school, you think about high school. You don't remember him, LeBron James in high school? How many personal coaches must he had at that point even?
Oh, for sure.
And now you think about LeBron where he's at, being in his 40s, top NBA player, still probably going to play till he's 50 plus if he wants to. He has his dietitian, his cook. He has his personal trainer. He has his basketball coach. He's got everybody for every aspect of his life because they just run the show with it. And that's how I feel about it. And to the average person, you want to take up boxing, yoga, whatever it is. My starting point, I argue always is learn the fundamentals, get somebody to do it for you.
And you did give me a lot of perspective. So my thinking originally was, let me learn some fundamentals and then get them refined so I could jumpstart myself before I start working with a trainer. But you had me reflect. And I decided, you know what? You're worth it, George. It's just, I think I know myself. If I go to that point, I'm the type of guy that I go all in on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right. And the next thing I know, I'm going to be in a ring getting my head punched when I told you not to do the same. So I'd be a hypocrite.
Right. But even, let's say you do once a week. I want to get into boxing. I find a good boxing gym in my area. I go sign up and I do a 1 hour session every time. What I always loved about it, if the person is a good trainer, is number one, they're going to teach those fundamentals at the beginning. Then they're going to tell you all the stuff you should be doing and prepping for the next session, not just boxing, but how you should be training in the gym, what you should be doing from a nutrition standpoint, and they'll give you homework of things you want to practice on. In the meantime, I want you to, I remember my coach very vividly. I just want you to jab, 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 and I want you to do every day 10 minutes of jabbing, and this is the nature, and I want you to take a video of it and send it to me, and we're going to correct.
Nice.
And you know what? I hated it. I hated the homework, and I hated just the focus. And I said, I just want to be Rocky. I was like, pow, pow, pow. That's all I want. He's like,
If only.
he said to me, stop watching YouTube videos of Rocky training from the movie. It's not realistic. I want you to watch real boxers and teaching the fundamentals and just doing that. And I wouldn't have been where I was without my boxing trainer at the end of the day. I still go to yoga classes. Even I was finding I put in thousands of hours at the yoga studio. And during COVID, I trained on my own. It was different being in the group class, different when somebody's coming to adjust me. One little tweak, one little millimeter of a tweak, 10 times more productivity in doing the activity.
I'm sold. You sold me. And the other thing, I got to tell you why, because again, I was thinking while you were talking, and
Yes.
so I was watching the documentary setting up for the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. And then I started learning about Mike Tyson's fighting style and custom auto. And I thought, you know what? Not saying I'm Mike Tyson's size, but my build is kind of like that. I don't have the same reach as other people, the height, etc. And I thought, wow, this would be good for me. So I started researching the way I am. You know the way I am. Yeah. And I found the YouTube videos, and it's like, here's the custom auto style, and the 7 is the jab, and how you do the weaving, the slipping. Yeah. And so me, again, going all in, I went to a gym and I said, okay, instead of doing my 45 minutes of cardio or intervals or whatever I do, I'll lift some lighter weight workout, and then I'm going to just do this. So I went on the heavy bag. I practiced slipping. Yeah. Let me tell you, that night I was like, oh. And it's not like I'm not in shape. So yeah, I think I'm going to get a trainer.
There is gym shape, and then there's boxing shape.
Yeah.
Boxing is at another level as far as strength and cardio goes.
Yeah.
Now, I promised you last week you had a couple questions for me. Floor is now yours. You're taking over the reins. Let's have it. Hit me with your best shot, sir.
I got to ask you. I have 2 that I must ask you before our time ends today.
Please.
One, when you were talking in the book about your journey, your chosen journey to becoming a Jubo, as you call it, right? Mm-hmm. There was one spot where you said G-D. And I thought, why did he do that? And there's no easy way to infer it from the book. So I thought, I got to ask him when I see him. So tell me.
It's one of those interesting little things that you never ever know. So having born Jewish, raised in the Jewish faith, I went to Jewish school from grades 1 to 8. And half the day was Hebrew, half the day was English. And one of the things is God's name is so sacred. It's so powerful. We can't desecrate it, and we can't get to that level by writing out his or her name.
Okay.
So we can't write G-O-D. It's G-D because it's honoring God and also saying that it's so powerful. I can't write. And if you do write God's name on a piece of paper, you can't throw that piece of paper out. You actually have to bury it properly, religiously. Like, it's at that level.
I never knew that.
This is the kind of respect and level we should have for our higher being. So that's the idea behind it. And it's funny. It's been how many years since I was in Hebrew school, right? And we're talking like 30 plus years. And as soon as I go to write God's name, it's so ingrained within me, I can't write G-O-D.
I never would have thought it. Okay. Well, wow. Yeah. Interesting. I think I'm going to do the same going forward. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Maybe it'll get us some brownie points. We'll try to make the connection up to the connecting flight to heaven.
I could probably use a few.
Me too.
Okay, one more question. And I can't believe for all the years we've been friends that you've been like a brother to me from another mother, that I don't know this, despite it being my face every time I picked up the book. Mm-hmm. Every time. What's A? What's your middle name?
What's A? So, it's very funny because, I born to immigrant parents. They come to Canada, and my mom, gives me a very strong Hebrew name. And she says to me, "Your middle name is Ariel, which is strong tree." And I looked at her. I remember being grade 1, grade 2, 6, 7 years old. I said, "Mom, Ariel is the Little Mermaid." And
I didn't hear Ariel.
right, she goes, "It's not Ariel, the Little Mermaid. It's Ariel, the tree." I'm like, "I'm gonna stick to A. Thank you very much."
Awesome.
And then when the Israeli president was Ariel Sharon,
Yeah.
like, see, strong tree. But it's one of those things growing up and getting teased over as a kid,
imagine,
and but it's funny because I liked it. So now it wasn't about the fact that love or hate or embarrassed at all about my middle name. It's I like the look of a middle initial. So it's Jonathan A. Hacohen. Like I love JAH. I love putting that everything on cufflinks, whatever. Like Trump has number 45 now. He'll have a 45, 47 on his cufflinks. I love JAH. I just like the look of it. But I'm actually not displeased with my middle name. It just looks weird to me as an author writing out the full name. So that's why A is there. But it's Ariel. So either I'm a strong tree or I'm the Little Mermaid. Maybe I'm both.
Best of both. How about that?
I mean, she had a pretty good career at the end of the day. You think about it, she's pretty famous. So I could do a lot worse than the Little Mermaid, I guess.
I don't know. I think it's sophisticated with the A. I like it like that. It looks good. And the funny thing is when you talk about jaw, I always think of Yah. Like jaw, yeah. And it's like you're a yes man.
Yeah.
You're right. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can achieve it.
I think I say Ja Rule or Ja Morant, the babasketball player.
Yeah, but he's missing the H.
Yeah, he's missing the H.
He's only 2/3 of the way there.
Adds a little more, and that's where I always think about now. Every time you're gonna look at initials, when people have it on cufflinks, on their pens, or wherever, and you see 2 initials, you're like, why don't they have a 3rd initial? It's all about the 3rd initial.
I don't know. For me, I'm happy with my 2 initials because it's GT, right? So I mean, that's very recognizable. It could stand for so many things like good times,
Grand touring.
great time.
Yes. It's all in our branding at the end of the day and what makes us makes work for us at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, personal branding.
So I'm going to ask you a final question then. You had your 2. I'm going to give you just one as we're ending today's episode. George Tremis, when you reflect back, having consumed the Bible 3.0, you were one of the first people on board with the project. You got the prototype chapters before anybody else even saw the book. You've been with me every step of the way. When you reflect on your life a year later, from the publishing of that book, holding it to finishing it, where's your life different? What are the tweaks that you've done in your life to further yourself based on the book?
It's funny. Oftentimes I give one grand answer, like when you ask me a question or people do. But in this case, I don't feel like there's one specific grand answer in terms of what it's done. I'll give you kind of a perspective by sharing a couple of insights in terms of what it's done for me. So, the big things are made up of a lot of little things. I think we'd all agree. So the funny thing is, I can't help it, and not every time, let's be realistic, but quite often, I'll be like, I got to fill my water bottle, and I'll think about water. It sounds silly, it sounds trivial, but it's really not, right? And that ties into, I would say, the fact that as I read the book, again, I think it's not a memoir on your life. It's a sharing that allows a platform for other people to reflect on their own lives. So, some of the stories you shared, especially in the beginning, as you set up the 6 commandments, I feel like we've had a similar journey. And so it's inspirational to me. So it doesn't matter what successes I have or haven't achieved, seeing somebody I care about and respect and hold in high regard do these things and know that the person, you, came from a place of difficulty in some things is further empowering for me. So it's almost like a spotter at the gym. Oh man, I'm getting a little weak. I don't think I can push to my limit. No, you can do it because I'm here. I have your back. It's kind of like that feeling, So it's not one grand thing, but it's a culmination of a lot of little things. And I think each person will find their own little things that build up into a big thing for them to help shift the needle. And even if it shifts just a little bit, it's still a little bit in the right direction.
Even the person that, let's say, is living ultra perfection, I've done everything. I've had all the best coaches and trainers and teachers, and you can't improve on perfection. They read the book. and they reflect within themselves. And you know what? It's nice to have the reaffirmation. Yeah, I'm doing the right things. This is great. But it's still different when you hear somebody else's perspective than your own. You listen to your own voice, and that own voice in your head is telling you those things. Somebody else comes and tells you, yes, that's amazing. Now imagine we do one little shift. So I'm gonna have one extra glass of water. I'm gonna shoot for half an hour more of sleep every single day. You know what? I thought twice a week at the gym was perfect. I'm gonna try 3 times. I'm gonna build up to 3 times a week and stick with the three. I thought meditation was so silly, like it was voodoo. It's not against my religion. Wow, I can actually center my brain and focus and get great ideas and learn about myself. You know what? I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna do that 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week. Silly little things you would think, but such little shifts. It's funny because sometimes when we're at the bottom and we have to dig up the hole and we gotta climb up. It takes a lot. And then once you reach a certain level, you can't make those giant jumps anymore. But it's those more little gradual, those fine tunings. I find it's the fine tunings that can get us to a top level versus if we don't keep doing the fine tunings, it's too easy to slip.
Absolutely.
So I tell those people, you think you're at perfection. The second you think you don't need to do anything else, that's when you're going to hit lower, lower, lower. You have to keep motivating yourself. You have to keep climbing and find little things in life that, you know what, you may seem trivial or big, but it gives you something to push ahead to. So always have, I believe, a professional goal, a personal goal, shoot to get ahead in life. Every other part of your life is going to prosper as a result.
And I agree with you. And if you're not moving forward and other people are, what's happening too? You're actually falling back. So there is no perfection. There's no absolute. It's a journey, not a destination. And I think that came out in your book. And one more thing I got to say about your book is because it sounds, for the listener, hearing just sound bites from us, that it's a prescriptive kind of book. And to a certain degree, it offers recommendations in terms of your journey and what you found. But I found it's very conversational. It's a very easy read. And having finished the first edit of my own book, right, and aiming to have it printed and published by March of 2025, it's like, this was a bit reassuring to me as well, that I feel like I'm on the right path in terms of the conversational tone I took in my book, even though it's about sales and all things related to sales. So that helped too.
Well, the person listening, there are going to be people that picture themselves of getting ahead. There are people that are falling behind. I find the most dangerous, and I've been there, and I was there for many, many years, is when you're stuck in the quicksand in the middle. And you're watching people get ahead of you. You're watching people fall back, and you feel like you're stuck in the quicksand in that same spot. And 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years go by, and you're still stuck in the quicksand. And you're afraid to get out of the quicksand because, yes, you may get advanced, but you may fall behind. I'd rather fall behind and work my way back up than get stuck in the middle for the rest of my life. Not interested.
Nothing changes until you do, right?
Nothing changes until you do. Check out the Bible 3.0. It's available as an audiobook, ebook, and physical book. Whatever format works for you, we got it. You can buy it at Indigo. You can buy it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. We're everywhere. And think about 2025 and where you want your life to be, where you picture the best self, how we're going to get there. And we're going to offer you some tools to make those tweaks and start progressing in life.
Can I ask for a Christmas gift?
Please.
To be back on the show in 2025 and share my book.
There'll be no show unless George Tremis is on it. So absolutely, we will have you back, my friend. Thank you for sharing your love, your wisdom. Check out George Tremis. Whether it be real estate, sales, making money, this guy has the prescription for it as well. So we'll see y'all back real soon in 2025. And this has been the Chosen Life Podcast.